Getting everything set up here. Give me a second. Okay, we're getting everything set up. Hello, everyone. Get the shop set up for this. 1 minute. Okay. All right. So everything should be in the shop for you guys. Hey, everyone. Hey, Katie. See you joined. Good to see you. Glad you subscribed to found us over on Palm Street. Let me go ahead and pin today's featured product. So we're going to talk about it in a minute, but we're featuring our vanilla chai tea today. It's starting to get just the slightest bit of fall weather here in the great city of Charleston, South Carolina. You know, it has nothing to do with the fact that there's a kind of a hurricane happening right now. No, I'm just joking. It has everything to do with that. It would otherwise be like 90 degrees. But we do have some wind and rain that have come in over the past few days and have cooled things down a little bit. So I'm feeling fall in the air, and so we're going to feature our vanilla chai tea today. So I've got a full container of it here. This is one of our absolute best-selling teas. Most people really enjoy it. So, yes, Katie has the inside scoop on a lot of things. So we actually do have a huge announcement. Legacy Aquarium is going to be now carrying Cold-Blooded Caffeine's products. Specifically, they're going to have 3 different blends, a light, a medium, and a dark roast. And I actually shipped out the first round yesterday. So it is on the way right now from Charleston to Michigan, and should be arriving mid this week, in time for the grand opening to the public of the Legacy Aquarium on Saturday. So that's the goal. So it will go live with them first, and we'll let them get the initial sales on the wholesale stuff, and then once they get into the groove of things over there, then we'll offer it on our website. So I don't have an exact date of when we're going to offer it on our website. It's going to be through Legacy to begin with, and then we will bring it into our website. But I'm sure they're going to feature it on their website, Katie. So if you want it, I would stay tuned to their social media to see when it's going to be available on their website. Cool. All right. So glad that everyone could join this morning. We're going to go ahead and we're going to kick things off. Like I said, super thrilled for everybody to be here. We are live streaming both on Palm Street and on YouTube right now. So if you are over on YouTube, glad to have you. I only answer comments on Palm Street. That's not a favoritism thing. That is just I have a very slim one-track mind, and I can't do more than one thing at a time. So I'm not able to keep an eye on both the YouTube comments and the Palm Street comments, because the Palm Street comments do not flow into my streaming software. So I have to look at my phone for that. So I have my phone over here to the side, and I have my laptop over here with my streaming software. So I'm not able to do both at one time. That's why I'm only going to answer questions on Palm Street. So before we get into the nitty gritty today, quick business news updates. So we will be, our next show is at Tinley Park, in ARBC Tinley Park. That's going to take place not this coming weekend, but the next weekend. So that is what, the 11th and the 12th, I believe. Yeah. And then, so just keep in mind when we do these big shows, there is a travel time involved with that. So if you place an order with us next week, in the middle of the week. It probably will not ship until the following week because we have to drive from Charleston to the Chicagoland area, and so it takes about 13 hours for us to get there. So it's a full day of driving, plus we have to be there on Friday, and then we'll drive back on Monday. So just keep that in mind as you order. I try to put an alert on our website, and so we probably will not have a stream on that Thursday. I might need to rearrange some stuff. Maybe we'll do something while we're in transit. Try something new, as long as we can do it safely, of course. So we'll think about that for next Thursday's live stream, because we're trying to do this every Tuesday and Thursday at 10 a.m. And so we'll think of some different things. But Tinley Park next weekend. So we're very, very excited about that. October Tinley is by far my favorite show that we do, and so I can't wait to get out there. It's going to be a little bit different this year. We're going to miss McKendrick. McKendrick, for many of you that have been around for a while, McKendrick is my business partner. He used to come to a lot of the shows. With everything that's going on with our current businesses, we have a total of 4 different businesses right now that we operate. So he struggles to get away. We need one person here. Since I'm more the face of the reptile side of the business, I tend to go to the shows. He tends to stay here. So we're going to miss McKendrick at this October show, but hopefully he might be able to come to maybe a St. Louis here in November. We're going to try some things. Katie, to answer your question, I actually forgot to add the Green Room Pythons blend to the Palm Street store. It's only on our website right now. It's on my to-do list to add it to the Palm Street store. I just have to go in and do it. So that's the only thing there. Also, before we get too far in, again, for those of you that joined in the beginning, heard me say, but the featured product for today is our vanilla chai tea. It's a really, really nice chai tea. It's got black tea in it. It's got Madagascar, vanilla, all the chai spices that you would expect. So really, really phenomenal chai tea, one of our best sellers. It is on sale today. I've got it listed for $12.99 in the Palm Street app. It's normally $17.99, I believe, on our website. So you can get, if you want to try chai tea today. It comes in 100 gram tins, but you can only get that on the Palm Street app today. I don't know when I'm going to move it back to the normal price, so there might be a couple of days before I move it back to the normal price, but enjoy it while that price lasts. All right, good. Moving on. I'm tired. Guys, I'm going to be honest with you. We had a show this past weekend, Charleston Repticon. This is the only Repticon we do. It's because it's literally 10 minutes. It is on the same road that's right outside of my office, just about 10 minutes up the road. And so this is the only local show that we do, and we had a great time. I will be honest, it was phenomenal. We haven't done this show in probably a year, and it was phenomenal to regroup with people that I hadn't seen in a while, old friends from when I used to vend animals at these shows, and then met a lot of new local people and introduced them to our brand as well. We have a much bigger presence nationally than we do locally because we do so many of the trade shows, so people know our name on a national reptile scale, but most people don't know. Like, we had people come up to us at the show this weekend that was shocked to know that we were just right down the road. And so it was really great to introduce ourselves or reintroduce ourselves to people and let them know that we're very, very close by and that they can just stop by and get coffee anytime they wanted to. So that was a lot of fun. I did do this show by myself, so I am really tired, and my wife is out of town. I mentioned it on the last live stream that we did. And so I'm playing a lot of different hats right now. So still having to work, did the show over the weekend, worked Saturday and Sunday. And then I have a 9-year-old son. And so I had to take him to school, pick him up from school and all that kind of stuff. And then I'll introduce you here in a second to my wife's new puppy. So she recently got a new puppy. She is traveling to a national park, Rocky Mountain National Park, to go hiking with her parents. They do this once a year. And so I'm also dog sitting her beloved new puppy. We have two older dogs as well. One, a lab that's 13, almost 14, and a German Shepherd that's 12, almost 13. The senior dogs, they kind of take care of themselves. They kind of do their own thing. But I have strict instructions to make sure that I keep an eye out for the little one. So let me go grab him real quick. I'll introduce you to him, see if he wants to hang out for a little while. All right. So this is Casanova. Casanova's 7 months old. He is a rat terrier, and he's a pretty cool little dude. So he's watching himself on the TV right now. This is my charge for the next week, to make sure that nothing happens to this little guy. So we decided, my wife is really big into dogs. Our German Shepherd used to do human remains detection. She was with a team out of Columbia, South Carolina, that did some human remains detection work. And so she did that for several years with the German Shepherd, until we had to retire the German Shepherd due to some hip dysplasia issues that she was experiencing. She's still alive and doing fine, but those are certainly some issues that she's had most of her life, and are unfortunate, and it was really sad to see her have to retire because of that. And since the two older dogs are getting on in years and have pretty much exceeded their life expectancy at this point, my wife wanted to get another dog to start learning from the older dogs some of the mannerisms, some of the rules of the house, so that, when something happens, the new pup would have had the guidance of the adult dogs to know, what to do and what not to do. So we went ahead and we got this little guy here, and he has been an absolute delight. He's only 7 months old right now. I think we got him when he was 12 weeks, and so he's been with us for a little bit now, and he is an absolute sweetheart. I've only ever had big dogs before, so this is new. He's a pretty good sized rat terrier. I was kind of surprised as to how big he was. I thought that rat terriers were little dogs. I had only ever been around Jack Russells before, and they're similar, but rat terriers are definitely larger than the Jack Russells are, and so. But even still, I can get the appeal of little dogs. I am starting to get it. I like to snuggle. I'm a snuggler, and so I like to have a dog that will just sit in my lap and relax. He's flat exhausted right now because he was with the show at the reptile show with me all weekend long. He went to work with me yesterday, and so he's not used to all the moving around. So you can see he's about to fall asleep just sitting here in my arms. So yes, Katie, to answer your question, we will be in St. Louis. I will definitely be in St. Louis in November. I am not 100% sure if McKendrick will be there or if someone else will be there with me, but I will definitely be there. So yeah, this is Casanova. I think the goal is to do some agility work with him. My wife wants to get back into handling and working dogs, but it's gonna just be up to him and what he wants to do. We're not gonna force him to, but he might just fall asleep right here. He's a tuckered little guy. So, all right. So that is kind of the news, the business news, personal news recap for me. We're gonna move on to a segment that we're starting to do every live stream. It's called Conservation and Coffee News, where I find some interesting articles in the news related to conservation or coffee or both. Today, I found an interesting article that I wanted to talk to you about because I think it's really relevant to what we do as a coffee business, and it's the culture of specialty coffee and how it relates to the American culture of efficiency or moving fast, like the speed of life being so fast. And yet specialty coffee tends to be something that you're encouraged to sit down and slowly drink. Do a pour over, do an espresso, something like that, and how those two ideas can kind of contradict each other, right? So like you're saying, oh, okay, this is really high quality, really expensive coffee, really a lot of effort was put into sourcing and roasting this coffee, and then you're going to grind it and put it in a Keurig pod or put it in a Mr. Coffee and drink it as fast as you can on your way to work. And I think you see the rise in these Starbucks or some of these fast Dutch Bros, Scooters Coffee. There's a lot of them. Seven Brews. These fast chains where you can literally drive in, grab a coffee, and go and chug it down. And it's almost the reverse of specialty coffee, right? It's convenience coffee, not like convenience store coffee, but like convenience coffee in that it's easy to get to, it's easy to consume. It's usually sugary or milky, so it's easy to drink fast. And I think it's really interesting, the two sides of the spectrum, because there's not really much of a middle ground anymore. People don't tend to sit. One of my ideals, like in a world where there were no other responsibilities, I would love to sit at my kitchen table in the morning, eat breakfast, drink my coffee, and read a newspaper or a magazine or something, and just have that time in the morning. But as most of us know, that's just not a realistic morning routine for most people. Most people don't have that time in the mornings anymore. You see those sitcom families that sit down, in the 50s up until probably through the 70s, where you would watch the dad eat breakfast before he went to work. The sun was out in the morning, and the kids were all sitting around getting ready for school, eating breakfast before school. The dad was reading the newspaper and drinking coffee. And I thought it was a very interesting idea, but that isn't the way that the world works anymore. Even if it ever did work in that much of an ideal situation. But this article talked about that is very much still a European mindset. And when you're talking about the evolution of specialty coffee throughout Europe, you still get that that slower pace, that sit down, have a cup of coffee, have an espresso, enjoy that moment, enjoy that coffee, more so than you do in the U.S. So really, the question becomes, does specialty coffee in its purest form still have a place in American society? And of course, I think the answer is yes. And I think that it definitely, you can make an argument that specialty coffee can make convenient coffee better. Having more quality coffee can make that fast, casual drinking coffee taste even better. But I think it's going to be difficult for a pure specialty coffee company to expand to a point where it can compete on a national level, like a Starbucks or a Dunkin' or a Dutch Bros or something like that. Only because most people aren't going to be willing to pay that premium price for that experience, I think, on a daily basis. It'll be a special treat thing and not a daily basis. So I just think it's a very interesting, I think he's asleep. I think it's a very interesting conversation to talk about. Now, I do think that Cold-Blooded Caffeine tries our best to balance the specialty side of our coffee. So all of our coffee is specialty, but it's also approachable. We try to make it approachable and affordable to the everyday person, where my goal as a roaster is to give you the best coffee that you've ever consumed, but do so at a price that fits most every budget. And I know we can't do that with everyone, but I try my best to keep prices to a point where you can buy them as part of your normal monthly budget. And it's not just a special one-time thing that you can do. As we talked about last week when we talked about tariff prices with coffee, we have not made any increases to our prices since a lot of these tariffs were announced. In fact, we've absorbed a more than 100% increase in several of our coffees where we're bringing them in. So I mentioned last stream that there was a coffee from Brazil that we bought, and it used to cost me $2.50 a pound to get it, and this last order that I placed, it was $5.75, and that's within the past year that it's more than doubled in price, and yet we have decided to not pass that savings, that expense along to the consumer. We've tried our best to absorb it so that you don't feel the impact of that. Now, that does mean that our margins and our ability to grow, it does hamper that somewhat. So we do rely on our customers, our loyal customers, to continue to buy from us so that we can increase our volume so that those lower margins don't impact us as much. And we've been doing fine. The business is fine, but you have seen some coffee companies in the past 6 months or so that have not been able to make up that ground, and it might be because they have high overhead, or they might have bought the wrong futures in coffee, because you can buy stock in coffee essentially just like you can other business stocks. You can buy commodity stocks in coffee, and you might have bought it the wrong time, and you have all of this built up stored coffee that you have to take, and it can just be a huge mess if you plan the market wrong, just like any stock market move. And so we've seen a lot of coffee companies fail because of that, and it's very unfortunate. But Cold-Blooded Caffeine has continued to try and keep those prices down for you. So that is my soapbox for the day, talking about specialty coffee and the slow culture versus fast culture expected in the U.S. That was a really interesting article. I might dive deeper into this in the future, this idea of specialty coffee and its place in American culture. Because, of course, I do want specialty coffee to continue to grow in the U.S. I think I love that the quality and the culture, the customer education of specialty coffee is increased. And I think there's a lot more that we can do. I love specialty coffee, but I also understand that time is a premium factor. As someone that owns 4 businesses, I understand that your time is an absolute premium factor. So I see both sides of the coin. So I'll get off of my soapbox on that for now. I'm going to put him back over here so that he can go back to sleep, because he's about to fall asleep in my arms. All right. And we're back. Today's primary topic of the week is going to be about my trade show philosophy. So when we do trade shows, we're in the middle of our trade show season. When we do trade shows, how do we go about it? I know this audience on Palm Street and a lot of the people that we talk to on YouTube or in person within this reptile industry have aspirations of one day selling at trade shows, even some of the bigger trade shows that we attend. And so I wanted to pass along some of my ideas of what I think about when I go into a show. Why do we select the shows that we select to vend? Why do we do trade shows in the beginning? I think that might be pretty obvious. Like, why do we do trade shows at all? Why don't we just sell online? And then what's my preparation and mindset as we go into a trade show? Because that's a huge deal. And then lastly, defining success. What does a successful trade show look like? So let's talk about first why we do trade shows at all. What's the point of doing a trade show as a coffee vendor in the reptile industry? Well, the number one thing for me is validation. So if I can put my products next to the industry that I want to support, the reptile and plant industry, then people start accepting us in that industry as part of the industry, which is what has happened. I got to get the dog hair off of me now. Which is what has happened with cold-blooded caffeine. That's the end goal, right? I initially want acceptance into the industry. That is the primary reason why we started to do trade shows in the beginning. Trade shows, I'll say this right now, I know it's important to understand this. For us and for a lot of different businesses, trade shows are not intended to make a ton of money for me up front. Of course, I want to make money when we go to shows. That's why we do shows, is to brand recognition and marketing. But I'm not trying to make all of my money at these shows. My big mindset when we're going into these shows is I want to reach as many people as possible with a positive experience. So the next time they see my brand, it will be an initial positive response to seeing that branding. And we see people all the time say, oh, hey, I think I saw your products in the supermarket. And it's like, oh, okay, well, no, that's not. But you didn't, because we don't sell to supermarkets. But that's really cool that you saw a logo and you initially thought it was me, right? Like you were like, oh, that's really cool that I know cold-blooded caffeine, and I hope that that's them in my local supermarket. And so that's why we do trade shows. One of the big reasons is brand recognition. So the next time you see my brand, the next time you think of coffee, the next time you think of a trade show that you went to, you will think about cold-blooded caffeine and your positive experience there. And then, of course, the secondary aspect to that is actually making enough money to justify the expense of going to the shows. While we do not need to make a ton of money directly from the show, we can rely on residual sales from the marketing efforts. We do try to at least break even at a show. So that's my goal, is to break even. If I make money at a show above my cost, then I'm very, very happy. But if I break even, it's one kind of like check mark as to whether that show was successful. Now let's talk about preparation and mindset. So when I'm going into a show, so let's just talk about upcoming schedule. I have NERBC Tinley Park, which is the biggest show that we do here in a week and a half. We'll leave for that show. I'm already starting to prepare for that show. I've ordered materials like cups and lids and things like that we're going to be taking to that show. They've already been ordered in. Syrups. Anything that I can order in advance has already been ordered. It will be here well in advance of when we have to leave for the show. I try my best to not roast the coffee for that show until the week of the show. So I'm trying to get ahead on my other stuff. All of the coffee that I need to roast for the customers that we have either locally or orders that come through the website. I'm trying to roast those so that they'll be available so that I can ship as orders come in over the next week. And so that's a big part, is the preparation, getting ready to be gone for Wednesday, Thursday. So let's say Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, 5 days where I won't be able to go in and roast coffee and ship orders. And then next Monday, I will start roasting for the actual show. Usually when we do big shows like Tinley Park, it takes me about a day and a half to roast the coffee for the show, and then a day and a half to pack the coffee for the show. So if you do the math there, I'll roast all day Monday, half a day Tuesday, and then I'll swap to packaging. And then I'll package the second half of the day Tuesday and all day Wednesday, load the van, and then on Wednesday, and then leave on Thursday to go to the show. The van itself is a shared resource as well, so we have to keep that in mind as we prepare for the show. So the van we use as part of our delivery service. We have a local delivery service called the Coffee Run, and so we sell coffee to a lot of different businesses around the Charleston area with that operation. And so that resource most of the time is used for the delivery service, the van. And so we also have to finish all of our deliveries for the delivery service in enough in advance so that I can take the van 4 or 5 days to go to these events. We don't need a dedicated vehicle for cold-blooded caffeine. We need it. We need it more for the delivery service, but it is nice to be able to use that as a dual-purpose vehicle so that we can travel with it. The thing there is making sure that we have customer orders in advance on the delivery service. It's a lot more predictable. We can send out emails to customers. These are businesses. These are other businesses, so like hospitals, lawyers' offices, doctors' offices, tire shops, real estate offices, all kinds of different businesses that we support. And so I can send them an email and say, hey, like normally we send out an email on Wednesday or Thursday. I can send it out on Monday or Tuesday this week to see what they need for next week, and then I can better able to plan ahead so that there are products on the shelf that I can roast this week to support those customers. And then that will alleviate a lot of pressure off of McKendrick, who does most of the deliveries, to be able to have the van empty by Wednesday afternoon so that I can finish packing and load the van on Wednesday to prepare for the trip to wherever we're going on Thursday. So that's preparation. Mindset for me is also a big thing. Being gone for 5 days, I'm a homebody. I prefer to be at home. I like my routines. And so going, and I tend to be, I know this is going to sound funny because I'm literally on camera right now. I tend to be introverted. I tend to be kind of worn out by being around people. It takes a lot of energy for me to put myself out there like that. And so after a show, or even sometimes in the middle of a show, I am flat exhausted. I struggle to recharge my internal battery when I have to be in front of people for so long. So I think that's a huge thing for me, making sure that I get enough rest leading up to the show, making sure that I'm taking care of myself, making sure that I do not always do a good job of this, but making sure that I eat well and take care of myself during the trip. So like, don't overindulge on junk food and snacks and things like that on the trip while we're road tripping, because I do love a good road trip snack. That's one of my guilty pleasures. I love salty foods, so like chips, sunflower seeds. I'll eat sunflower seeds while I drive to pass the time. So I love things like that. So I try to limit that as much as I can. And Corey, who goes with us to these shows, helps out a lot with that because she eats pretty healthy, and so she'll bring like dried mangoes or things like that on the trip with us, and so I can eat those because they're in the car and it'll be healthier. While I don't normally think of eating those on a day-to-day basis, like if I went into a gas station, I wouldn't get dried mangoes to eat for a road trip snack. So I'm glad that she brings them along. That works for me. And then making sure that all of my animals are prepared before we leave for a trade show. I don't have as many animals as I used to, but I still have a fair amount. And the ones that I do have tend to be kind of higher maintenance animals. So I have a group of tortoises. They mostly stay outside, so they're not too bad. They kind of can take care of themselves a little bit. And then I have a fly river turtle. So that's an aquatic turtle, which of course takes a lot of maintenance. And then a rhino iguana, which also large lizard, takes a fair amount of maintenance. And then a bunch of geckos that need to be misted. And so while I'm gone for a trade show, I'll be gone for 5 days. I have to make sure my wife usually will take care of the animals for them, but I have to make sure that I do a lot of prep work so that she has the least amount of work that she can do. It's mostly just feeding and misting that she has to do while I'm gone. So that's another factor to consider when we're talking about traveling for trade shows. And then lastly, what does success look like? So we do all of this stuff. We plan for a week and a half. We drive for in this instance, 13 hours one way, 13 hours back. We spend all weekend at this show. We have a lot of costs. We, are on our feet all day long. What does success look like? And I think it's important to put things in perspective. and look at myself as accountable to meet those metrics. I cannot rely on people just charity giving oh, support my business because I need it, right? It's not a charity thing. I am responsible for putting my business out there and for putting my best face forward while we're at a trade show, and making sure that I do my best. So like I'm active, I'm interacting with customers, I'm on my feet, I'm looking happy. And so that's, to me, a successful show could just be as simple as I did a good job interacting with customers, building the brand, and I feel good about the position that I put the brand in based on my own actions. Another thing would be if there were any good connections that I made on the business side. I love dealing with every customer that comes up to the booth. I love hanging out with you and talking coffee. But of course, there are some connections in terms of a business transaction that can put things over the top for a weekend. So like if I'm able to network with another company that might want to carry our products, if I want to build relationships with content creators or personalities that might help drive brand recognition going forward, or if we just have an absolutely stellar sales day. It has happened. And October Tinley, if it's going to happen, it's probably going to be the October Tinley show. And so all of those things factored into together can make or break the success of a show. So if I'm just out of it, and there's been shows that I'm just out of it, I just don't really want to be there. Those shows tend to be less successful because I wasn't in the right frame of mind. There have been shows that we've had bad sales days. Usually when that happens, it's more a problem with me than a problem with the promoter or something like that. I don't think, since we stopped doing some of the more local shows, which does vary wildly based on attendance, depending on the show, I haven't had the same issues with, and there's no way I can blame promoters for a lot of this stuff. The promoters that we do interact with it's very intentional. We've chosen those shows because they consistently draw a good crowd, because they put on a good show, because they're not afraid to spend money on a good venue or good advertising or things like that, or they're very, very established and people come regardless. And so those are the shows we do. We sell $5 cups of coffees and $15 to $20 bags of coffees. There isn't a one item that I can sell on my table that will make or break a show. And so I need a lot of people through the door to be successful. And the shows that we do put that through the door every time. And so that's why we don't do a lot of first-time shows unless I know the person that's putting it on, because I can't risk my brand's reputation on a mediocre show. And so that is a little bit more about my philosophy on trade shows and why we do them and what makes them successful. So I'm available to answer any questions that anyone has. I don't think that there's a lot going on in the Palm Street chat right now. So for those of you that are on YouTube, you're welcome to add some comments there. I can see those over there as well. If you would like to chat and ask some questions, I'll flip back and forth between the two. But just as a recap, as we do that and wait on it, if any comments come through, just a quick recap. We will be at NERBC Tinley Park next weekend, not this coming weekend, not the 4th, but the 11th and 12th. NERBC Tinley Park, October 11th and 12th. Tinley Park Convention Center, Tinley Park, Illinois. The October Tinley is an amazing show, so try that out if you are interested in seeing one of the best shows in the country, best run shows in the country, best attended shows in the country. The people there, the vendors are amazing. So if you're interested, it's to me, I tell people all the time, NARBC Tinley Park, especially October, is the mecca of reptile shows. If you've never been, it needs to be on your bucket list to go to NARBC Tinley Park at least one time. It has a different vibe to it. It's something about being at that convention center, being at that place. Like when I pull in, we've done this show more than 10 times. It has to be more than 10 times. And every time I pull into that convention center parking lot, it feels different. I do a lot of trade shows. I've done a lot of trade shows over the past 10 years that I've been vending reptiles and coffee. And I mean, hundreds of trade shows. There's not one place that competes with Tinley Park that I have vended. Granted, I have not done the West Coast shows, so I don't really know the vibe of the West Coast shows, but the vibe of NARBC Tinley Park is the best reptile show vibe that I've ever been to, and you should definitely have it on your bucket list if you've never been. And if you have been, why aren't you there every year? I'm just joking. I know it can be a little ways away for a lot of people, but it's definitely worth it. And so I hope you can join. Don't keep in mind, I've got special pricing on a vanilla chai tea in the Palm Street app today. Vanilla chai, it's one of our best-selling teas. So we've got that here. It is currently $12.99 in the Palm Street store. It's normally $17.99, so $5 off this tea. So get it today while the sale lasts. And I think that is going to wrap us up for today. I don't think there's really anything else going on today to talk about. Our next live stream is going to be Thursday, this coming Thursday at 10 a.m. So if you want to reach out with any ideas on things that you want to hear about, coffee related, animal related, both, let me know. Let me know what you think of this format and this style. I know that it will take some time to, gain interest. I'm not discouraged by this by any means. I understand we have to put in the work to get the audience. So I hope you keep tuning back in. For those of you that joined today, I really appreciate it. We've gotten a lot of great support and feedback from the Palm Street community, and I very much appreciate everything that you guys do for us. Being one of the only coffee companies on Palm Street, I appreciate the viewership. I know you could be watching a lot of things. Awesome. Thank you so much, Feral Earth. I appreciate the feedback. Like I said, I like this because it makes it more personal, I think, to the audience. Instead of, I kind of ran out of ideas. We used to do the demonstration stuff. So I showed you how to make espresso. I showed you how to make cold brew. I showed you how a roasting demonstration, how to make teas, how to make all this stuff. And then I kind of ran out of ideas, to be perfectly honest. There's only so many things that I can show you related to how-to coffee that I can do on a live stream before it got really, really repetitive. So thank you. I do appreciate the encouragement. That does mean a lot because it does take a fair amount of work to put this together. So I do have notes that I did and all this kind of stuff to prep for these shows. So thank you so much for the kind words and for the encouragement. We'll keep them going. So if anybody has any ideas on things that they want to hear about, talk about in this podcast format, please feel free to do so. We're also live streaming on YouTube as well. So we're going to try and continue to, cross-platform, get utilization, get the best we can. I want to be able to have multiple camera angles and all this different stuff so that I can show you things better. I only have one camera right now that's right in front of me, but I technically have three cameras looking at me. So I have the camera here, which is my DSLR, whatever. And then I have my phone right here. And then you can't even see that on Palm Street right there. And then I have my laptop, which is off to the side over here. And so I have three cameras. I have a lot of different capabilities. So I'm going to try and do different things going forward, overhead views if we're making coffee, all kinds of stuff. So I've got big plans in mind. I've got a full soundboard over here. So I've got sound effects that I can do. but it's more of an educational thing on my end. I just wanted to get started, just get in the habit of talking on camera. It's, again, I mentioned it earlier, it's not something that I'm super used to. It's not something that I'm super comfortable with. So I know that repetition is going to help, that getting in front of the camera and just doing it is going to help. So instead of getting everything perfect and all the equipment and the lighting and everything exactly right, I wanted to go ahead and get started, get talking to you guys, and start learning how to do this kind of stuff. So I appreciate your time today. I'm going to go ahead and wrap up on the conversation today. I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, please consider subscribing to our channel here on Palm Street. Also, feel free, I would appreciate it if you went over and followed our Cold-Blooded Caffeine YouTube channel. We're currently at 822 subscribers, so we're almost to that 1,000 threshold, which will really be a big day for us on YouTube. I would appreciate that. I'm going to try and get back into the more long form videos over on YouTube as well. We've been doing a lot of short form content over there, but check out the Cold-Blooded Caffeine YouTube. You can check us out on all social media platforms, Cold-Blooded Caffeine everywhere. Again, we'll be at NARBC Tinley Park in a week and a half. Hope to see you there. We'll be at NARBC St. Louis in November, and then a couple of private events scattered throughout there. So hope everyone that joined today has a great rest of your day. If you need anything from me, I'm always here. Send me a message. I'm always happy to help. And we will talk to you again next Tuesday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. See you in St. Louis. Yes, see you in St. Louis. Have a great day. We'll talk to you again soon. Thanks.